I realize if I play the video from there, I'll have music. It's been a little while, so a little rusty here. So just gonna, for the sake of YouTube, this is a 5.8K player. He's primarily plays offlane, and right now we're focusing on a mid game where he's playing TA. So just catching people up. Sorry about that. Okay, so basically, what I look at in your MMR bracket, I think the biggest weakness that I always had when I was around your tier, and then what I see in players when you're in my game, is like the lack of adjustment to the strengths or weaknesses of the opponent, like whatever their heroes do, and that includes itemization, movements on the map, what fights to take, what objectives to go for. These type of things actually need to be adjusted for, based on what the enemy heroes are, as well as your own. So I'm expecting to see you play the map incorrectly based on what the enemy heroes are. So I'm going to do my best in the next hour, depending on however many games we can get into, of clarifying how you can apply that in multiple games, as like, you know, across the board, not just this one, as best I can. So I expect this mid lane to go pretty well. It's a good matchup for you. Do you want me to focus on lane mechanics, or I feel like you can probably, like, what I've kind of realized is I've done a lot of sessions on mid mechanics. Like, you know, you should obviously have more than one CS right now. Would you prefer me to just focus on past the laning stage, or do you want me to also look at this?
Yeah, probably past the landing stage.
Okay, so we're just gonna fast forward so I have a general idea. But I expect this lane to go pretty well for you, even if you mess up a little bit in the early lane. You have a good matchup, so as it goes on, it should get better and better. And on a hero like TA, I generally think CSing and stuff is just like mechanical and like getting used to the hero. I don't know how many games of TA you've played.
This was my first TA game in quite a while.
Yeah. So like all the stuff you're doing wrong here, I'd pretty much I'd chop it up to mechanics on the hero. Like if I heroes like TA, people ask me, I'm like, yeah, I'd have to play her like 30 times in a row. I just don't. She's like a very mechanically specific hero, so I always mess up mechanically on this hero.
I mean, also the thing is, like, I end up getting a bunch of ancients, so like even
yeah, I
the
mean,
CS
what happens is
lane
you're in a good
ends up
matchup, so even if you mess up a little bit
Yeah.
early, I mean, like, look at the CS, right? You're still going to be winning, you're still going to be leading. Like, maybe you should be leading by 15 or 20 CS instead of 10, but you're still going to win because it's like a favorable matchup. So you get the DD.
This is really bad right here. I end up getting Zeus ulted and prowled.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Really annoying.
unfortunate.
I didn't see her.
That's really unfortunate. I don't have much else to say about that. I mean, there's nothing really to say. That just sucks. Probably could have trapped a bit earlier and kited the camp a bit better, but that's like just a TA mechanic that you can.
That's another TA mechanical thing.
You definitely can learn that without me here. So, let's.
I commit to kill Jug, and I think maybe it's not worth because he's quite behind. But I felt that since we already killed Zeus and Jug's their safe lane carry, it'll be worth it to get the kill on him.
I will say right now that you are always higher priority than carries in this patch if you're mid, even off lane probably. Okay. Overall, I think that was fine. They reacted with a lot of heroes, so I think that the decision was fine there. Like I don't like I look at that and I'm like, oh, he's not really like, I don't think that is like overcommitting. I just think like it took a little bit longer to kill him than you expected, and then you died because the Witch Doctor TP'd in. So I don't look at that with any alarm. I'm expecting the major mistakes in a game like this to come in the mid game here. Like, I look at their lineup and I look based on your lane matchup, and I can tell you, like, when I look at these kind of games, like if I see a bad lane matchup, I'll say, oh, it's probably based on the laning stage, something you did wrong. Or if I see like like I feel like in this game your hero scales really well against Jug, Zeus, Witch Doctor type heroes, and even Omni Knight doesn't really deal with you. So the only way I can imagine you losing is by fucking it up. So I kind of view in these type of games, like, that's how I can kind of look at replays and be like, I'm gonna rewind here.
The death, maybe?
What did I?
I think
I might have accidentally clicked or something.
I was just trying to pressure
no,
the
like
tower
I just.
without...
Okay, yeah, okay. I was like, what the hell? I must have just accidentally. Oh, I must have clicked jump ahead or something. Okay. So,
Definitely,
this
definitely too
is
greedy.
this is when I ask you the questions, because this is what players in your MMR struggle with the most. So these are the type of questions you need to take from this session and ask yourself in almost every single game. What would you say in your best assessment, strengths and weaknesses of the opponent lineup?
I mean, strengths, they have NP to always like split push and cut waves and pressure your towers if you're not there to deal with them. They've got Witch Doctor. If you get grouped up in a team fight, can really handle you. Juggernaut has the magic immunity, so that can make him more difficult to kill. Damage from Zeus. Global once he has his Ags. Omni Knight's kind of more defensive, so he's not really a problem for me. He's not gonna like gank me or whatever. But the Witch Doctor definitely can come behind me with a cask and stuff and cause problems with Maledict.
So, how often do you watch me? I'm just asking for the sake of giving myself context.
Not that often, but like
Okay.
sometimes.
Have you ever heard
Like,
me use the
I
word
know,
reach?
kind of like,
Okay.
but I didn't really know what you meant.
So reach and catch are similar concepts, but reach means their ability to kill you from long distances or chase you. Do they have reach?
Yeah, they don't. They kind of do with Sprout, like TP Sprout, but he's dead right now, so none of their abilities.
Even
are
if
that
he's
long
not,
range.
even if he's alive, like any hero that's going to kill you, aren't you literally going to see them walk at you? That's going to happen, right? So, if that's the case, what's the only way they kill you?
Walking at me.
If you walk into them.
But yeah,
So these type of lineups, they lack reach. Okay? So if a lineup lacks reach, the only way you die is by walking into them. So take a gander at the map real quick.
it's pretty black.
You see
Only
Jug.
one person showing.
Is that relevant? Right. Okay. At what point, so if you look at a lineup that lacks reach, at what point in this game, as TA specifically, can they not kill you for like 10 minutes?
Once I get BKB, pretty much invincible.
Try again.
Blink Dagger?
Yeah. Once you get a blink, how the fuck do they kill you? Please explain to me how they kill you. If you have refraction up,
That's fair.
how do they kill you? Like, actually. Like, if you're in a lane showing, as long as you have refraction, are they going to cask you from fog? You can blink to that. Are they going to
But
orchid
they
you
actually
with
don't have
prop?
any stuns.
They have nothing. So my point is, if you watch an incredibly good player, like a perfect TA player, they would understand that they are literally unkillable once they get Blink Dagger. Okay? So, like, I'm not a perfect TA player. I just know a lot of concepts about these heroes, right? Like, and this is why I will often lose the laning stage on heroes I'm uncomfortable with, but I'll play better after the laning stage just because, like, I'm bad mechanically, but then I can apply this understanding that I'm giving you now in every game. Because you don't have to be a fantastic TA player to know how do they kill you with refraction and a blink dagger. They just don't. For a long time, they need like nullifier on prophet or some shit, like they or sheepstick. They actually need something like that.
Even
Right?
that you can like blink, yeah, like a
Yeah,
sheep probably.
yeah. See what I mean though? Like, so that's the kind of stuff you have to think. So if that's the way we think about this game, so something you have to realize as a player is every game teams have power spikes and weaknesses. So like
Much
it's a
obliged.
very back and forth balance of who's stronger at any given moment, okay? So like at certain times in the game one team's stronger than the other and it can very bounce back and forth with like one item on one hero, right? So like my point is you're the aggressive hero, you're the flash farmer, and look at the heroes on your team. Do the heroes on your team play on map or off map? Skywrath Mage, Tiny, Ricky is who I'm looking at.
I mean, Ricky is always off map.
What about Tiny and Sky?
Tiny definitely wants to be off map,
Okay.
but I mean, I don't know if he was actually playing that way.
Okay, but what about Skywrath?
And Wind Ranger was actually a safe. Skywrath, the game he wants to be just harassing people, but
Okay.
after that, he doesn't want to be showing.
But he wants to be off map in like the mid game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking about like now and moving on. So by the way, this is like something you should definitely just watch back to like review these concepts. But like, so this is something I was talking about yesterday. Is you have to, every team compo has to have a balance of who shows on map and who doesn't, right? Like if you have 5 heroes that want to play off map, then nobody can show on map, and then none of your lanes are pushed, right? Like the idea of showing on map generally means you're in a lane pushing creeps. That's what that generally means, right? Like at a very simple level. So if we have too many people that show on map pushing creeps, we're going to be showing on 3 lanes and getting picked off. If we have too many heroes that want to play off map, we're going to be looking for kills, but none of the lanes are pushed. So even if we kill all 5 heroes, the lanes are at our tier 2s, and we can't take any objectives. So you see how you need to have this happy balance of lane shove as well as pick off. So heroes that play on map, heroes that play off map. So my idea for you is, I can try to ask this in a question, but I'll kind of just give it as a statement. People who play on map enable people who play off map, because with the lanes pushed, people who want kills can actually go for beneficial kills and have more information than the enemy team, right? And then in tandem with that, heroes that play off map enable heroes that play on map to push lanes, because one of the most important things to having good split push oftentimes is having kill threat. So if your hero doesn't have a blink or whatever, so say I'm a tower taker, and I look at their team and they have D push. I can't take that tower until we kill them, right? So I'm just trying to give an example. So say our only form of initiation is Axe. When is it my timing to take their towers?
Max gets his blink, probably.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how strong my hero is. If I can't kill the people that are D-pushing, I can't push, right? So that's how something you have to understand about people enabling each other, and that's how you can help yourself direct your team in some gentle capacity. Like, you don't have to micromanage them, but just be like, Axe, once you get blink, I need to take this tower. Come help me. That kind of stuff. But until then, are you taking that tower? No, right? Because like, if there's a hero D-pushing, I'm just giving you an example, like a Wyvern or an ET or something, what's a pushing hero going to do to those heroes? Like, nothing, right? So that's just a general example. But at the same time, if you have these 4 heroes that technically represent kill threat, what do they need that I already mentioned in order to properly represent that kill threat?
Need you to be showing and shoving lanes.
And what do you need to shove lanes?
I need a blink deck. So that's how we're going with this.
Yes. So what mode are you in right now?
Right now I'm in mode AFK farm.
Mode farm.
No blink.
So, as I've told you already, there's 2 situations in the game. One where you're trying to take objectives, and if you're not trying to take the objectives, what's most likely the occurrence going on in the game?
Oh, you're losing.
What?
Not trying to take objectives, you're probably losing, right?
It's not necessarily that you're losing, you may be weaker. What's the enemy team trying to do?
Take your objectives.
Take your objectives. At one point, every point in the game, almost always, very few exceptions, one team is trying to take objectives. Isn't it just the team that's stronger at that given moment, right? Like, that's all it is. So, if you're not trying to take objectives, what's your only concern on the map?
Ours.
Your objectives. Them trying to take yours. So, applying dead lane. What's the only 2 objectives they'll ever go for? Realistically.
Mid and safe lane tower.
Okay. So, if mid and safe lane are not threatened, and you are in AFK farm mode, what are you doing?
Ancients or something, not walking
AFK
up the hill.
Right? Like, that's all it is. All you care about when you are not looking to take objectives is the opponent trying to take your objectives. So if none of your objectives are threatened, then you do whatever's perfect for you. Like, whatever on that specific hero is the ideal farm, right? Like, the safest farm, the fastest farm, the most beneficial farm, whatever, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. And that's why, like, for instance, the other day, or yesterday, I was flaming my Abaddon so hard because I was so upset with it, because he was the hero in your situation where we weren't trying to take any objectives. He was super farmed, and his role in the game as an Abaddon was to D-push. So if his role as Abaddon is to D-push, and he wants to farm and not really, like, push objectives right now, what's his only concern?
Just sitting at the towers that are getting pressured and
yes,
farming
if
the
there's a
waves,
tower on our side that's trying to get taken by the enemy team, he needs to be there, right? Aside from that, does he have any other responsibilities? No. It's that simple, and that's why it blows my mind, right? Like, his only job is to say, where are they trying to push? Go there. And then stop it, right? Like, that's... If they're not trying to push, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, right? Like, the fuck he wants. Like, that's how it works. And it's the same thing for you right now. You're not necessarily, like, a D pusher. If the enemy team groups up as 4, the bottom, sorry, what would the Abaddon do properly? If in this given situation, I theorized for you. What would
he would show up.
He'd show up and present himself as like a wall, right?
Hold it.
If you're a TA and you see 4 heroes show up bottom, what's your response?
I mean, I could rotate there, or I'd like right now. I would probably just take the mid tier one.
You would just push the mid tower, right? Like,
yeah.
There's certain heroes that D push. There's certain heroes that split push, and even if it's not your time to push right now, the only reason it's not your time to push is you're content. Okay,
Not showing.
You're content with neither team taking objectives, right? Because you haven't hit your timing yet. That's the point. You're content with neither team taking an objective. So unless the enemy team's forcing anything, just chill. Just wait, right? Because the one minute you get this blink, you can do whatever the hell you want on the map, and those towers are going to happen, right? Like, they're going to come. So that's one of those things where if it also goes vice versa, that if you're the stronger team and say they have a hero like Axe that can kill you if you're trying to push towers, if you don't force towers before that Axe gets a blink, then you're never getting that tower. Or probably going to have a very hard time getting that tower. So missing that timing would be super important as well. Do you see where, like, this whole thought process I've been giving you? I know it's been a long spiel at 14 minutes, but it all goes into this decision of you walking into this tier 1. And do you see how...
Which was...
Go ahead.
I mean, I haven't watched this replay in a while, and this is definitely like a pretty glaring mistake, right? Like something that probably shouldn't have happened. Especially since, like, just gameplay-wise, like what you were saying, and also just because, I mean, the map's completely dark, and they're just walking onto their hill.
What I'm saying, though, is even if it was just Zeus mid and you didn't die here, you're still making the wrong play. I don't want you to think this is a mistake because you died. I want you to think this is a mistake because right here and now, you should know what mode you're in. And the minute this wave gets pushed, you're not even considering walking up that high ground.
I'm just walking straight to, like,
you are
Ancients.
walking straight to Ancients. This is the kind of stuff where these little, like, 5-second, 10-second downtimes separate players in your tier and, like, you know, CCNC who was in chat. Like, he wouldn't even consider pushing this, I almost guarantee you. Like, he would kill the wave and then back off.
And isn't his whole thing, like, never hit neutral creeps, though?
But that's, like, no, his thing is, like, to help you get better at Dota, never hit neutral creeps. Because neutral, okay, so it's the equivalent of, like, what I said about that Abaddon,
I'm
right?
Templar Assassin.
No, I'm saying, like, on Abaddon, for instance, it's fine if he does whatever he wants as long as he defends towers, right? It's fine if you hit neutrals on any hero if there's nothing else that you're supposed to be doing. Problem is, people don't think about what else they should be doing, and they just hit neutrals. Right? Like, that's the problem with neutrals. That's what he's trying to teach you, is in the short term, it's in your best interest to never hit a fucking neutral because it allows you to be mentally lazy about whatever objective you're supposed to be doing right now. And you can just hit neutrals and farm. That's what he was trying to say. So this is a decision where, like, this just shouldn't ever occur. Like, imagine if you knew this, what I just told you, all this concept, you would have walked straight here. Okay, here's how it works. You would have done this, creep wave, and...
I would have finished this creep and then literally immediately
based on your knowledge of the dead lane, what ancients should you go to? You see 4 heroes missing, right?
The dead lane?
You see,
I mean, I guess
you see 3 heroes missing. What
smoking to R.
What are their 2 plays? If they're making a play, what are they?
Like trying to kill me or trying to get a kill bot and then take the safe lane tower.
Okay, so 95%, where are they coming from if they try to kill you?
I mean, if they were playing their dead lane, they'd be bot, but...
So where are they coming from?
Remember.
Right? Just tell me. Like, bottom, right? Your own jungle. Is that not correct? Their only 2 plays are mid and bottom. So 90% of the time they gank you, isn't it going to be from bottom? Because good players, they'll say, oh, we want mid tower or bottom. We're going to smoke right here. And is my minimap cover on? It is, that's bad. they're going to smoke right here. And they're going to look for a carry or a mid here, right? Is that not true? So,
This
what
game,
ancients do you go to?
specifically. Top ancients.
Yeah. And you'd go right here and walk up. Let's see what their team is doing. You'd run into a witch doctor alone. So be it. Like, okay.
Nothing would happen.
If you happen to get 3-man smoked from right here, that's the kind of times where you see these like high-level players going, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, like that's what they're thinking. They're like, what? Like, how did I just, what? You know? And so even then, like, that's not a good play by him, but you wouldn't die. You 100% wouldn't die. The only way you die to these kind of lineups that lack reach is walking into 3 of them. That's like the only way you actually die. So that's the concept we're reiterating over and over again. I'd just run into that witch doctor, and you might even just fucking kill that guy. To be honest with you, you might even just solo kill him. I think he had a haste, so you probably wouldn't solo kill him. But now you're gonna lose most likely a tier 1, or in this case, what did your death cost here, other than just dying? What did it cost?
Rotations. We've got 3 people sitting in the mid lane.
It cost like your entire team,
half the HP,
right? Like half the HP of the tower. 3 heroes in your mid lane had to show up to a lane that they would never really need to be at. So these type of deaths are very costly. And these type of towers, you have to understand that, like, this idea of, like, will you eventually get the tower based on power spikes in the game? And if the answer is yes, then just wait. Wait for whatever power spike that is. And this game becomes... So, at what point should you migrate to here?
Well, once I have Blink Dagger.
Okay. That's true, and that's a consideration. What also makes your mid lane tower more vulnerable?
Us not being there to defend it? Like, come on.
What tower enables them to take your mid tower, and why?
I mean, their mid lane tower.
Have you even watched the dead lane video?
The dead lane video? No, I've heard you talk about it, but I haven't watched the dead lane video.
See, people, this is what I have to deal with. If they take your safe lane tower, it is way easier for them to take your mid tower. Do you know why?
Because they can just, like, walk in the jungle and control that area.
Yeah, it gives them, like, multiple different avenues to approach your mid lane. And it becomes much more convenient and hard to defend for you. Like, it becomes much more convenient for them, much harder to defend for you. Because what happens is, you'll see most of the time, like, what happens is, based on strength, okay? Here's how towers work. Easiest tower, second easiest, hardest. Okay? So, what teams will do is they know this. So, based on their strength in the game, they'll try to take these towers based on that knowledge. If they think they're strong enough to take this tower, they'll take it. If they think they're absolutely strong enough to take this tower, they'll take it. But if they don't feel like they're that much more powerful than the enemy team, or even just weaker, their first priority will always be this tower. Because it's the easiest one. That's just how it works. Easiest, second, third, right? And that's all based on how strong are we in comparison to them. Take the tower that we are strong enough to take. Like, that's all it is. And most of the time I say it's this tower, because it's the easiest one. But, like, it's kind of saying, like, if you're strong enough to take any of the 3 towers, and you choose to take this one, that mistake is much less costly than not being strong enough to take one of these 2 towers, but being strong enough to take this one
trying to take it.
and trying to take it, right? So that's why I say, in a general rule, your first tower should always be this one. And then you can learn the exceptions from there. Like, that's what I always tell people, because there are exceptions. That tower is not always correct, but in general, it's the best tower to take. So if you can learn when it's not, I think the best way to do that is by always trying to take it first. Like, always trying to take it, and then realizing, oh, I could have gone mid here, or I would have rather taken their safe lane, whatever. But, okay. So, you talked about migrating to the top half of the map once you have Blink. Why did I mention the vulnerability of your mid tower before mentioning, like, when talking about this subject?
Important that we keep it up because it's big map control.
Okay.
Like,
does anyone else on your team farm mid lane and rotate to jungle?
No.
Okay. So
maybe Tiny.
Does anyone else on your team willingly farm this area? Isn't this the safest farm on the entire map? Based on the dead lane? Isn't this the safest farm on the entire map for your entire team?
Agree.
Yes? Sorry, I can't. What? Is that a yes? No? Couldn't hear you.
Is my mic acting up or something?
I hear you now. What was the answer? Okay, it's every time you answer for whatever. I heard it S, so I'll assume that's a yes. So if this is the safest farm on the map, you're strong enough to take mid lane, but other heroes don't take mid lane. What are you effectively doing by going here right now?
I'm taking farm away from them. And
Yeah,
making their
you're
games
going to get
harder.
the same amount of farm. They're going to get less. Period. Like, that's just how it goes. And not only is it going to be less farm for them, how does this work for map pressure?
The mid lane's going to get pressured.
Yeah, and so what is the... Okay, so based on what we talked about showing on map and all that kind of stuff, what is needed for you to pressure that tier 2 top?
Or just having, like, even if there were a bunch of people, like, I'm not really that strong until I
Yeah.
have to blink.
Yeah, but it's like also just in general superior lane pressure, right? So if you have one hero that should be mid and he's top, and nobody else can effectively pressure mid, you can't take top because mid's not pressured. You see what I'm saying? Like, you need to distribute resources properly. So if you don't farm the right part of the map as your hero, you're inhibiting your entire team from doing anything. So if you like, that's why I was bitching yesterday so much about that one Abaddon player, because if you are the strongest hero on the map, the most impactful hero, which in this game you are, I think you know that too. Like if I asked you who's the strongest hero in this game, you'd say it's you, not just net worth, but matchup and everything like that. If you farm the wrong part of the map, you ruin the game for your entire team. I'm trying to emphasize that to you and everyone. Not just your game becomes inefficient, the entire team's game plan is thrown off. And so, to reliably carry games, in my opinion, like to have almost the most possible control of the game in terms of winning or losing, is to be this hero. It can be in any role. It can be in many of the core roles. It can be the off laner, the mid laner, the safe laner. But it's just dependent on hero matchups. But TA is a hero that almost always does it. That's why you see all these high MMR players spamming TA. She's a good hero right now, and she can reliably solo carry the game if played properly. Because she just shoves lanes, and then the minute she hits her power spikes, kills people, takes Roche, and continues shoving lanes. In regards to the dead lane, what is TA's greatest strength?
Like her unkillability and her vision through traps.
Can't you just lay, like, at some point, lay, like, 5 traps in the dead lane, and then not come back for 4
Nice.
minutes? Like, just never return on any hero, right? That's, like, her best strength is, at some point, the dead lane's not safe, even for you, right? And we said that's, like, a nullifier, or every game that's different, right? So, if you're this hero that becomes unkillable, okay, let's say you play this game perfectly, okay? I'm going to do my best to guide you through this. And this is how you should think about every game, by the way. If you're this hero that farms really fast or dictates the pace of the game, in this case you're the TA, that's very often your job, where should you be farming right now? We already said this, mid lane, right? So what's your logical progression? You farm mid lane, you push it out, you take Ancients until Blink Dagger. What's your first objective once you take Blink Dagger, assuming mid tower is still there?
Our mid tower? Or their mid tower?
Their mid tower is still there. Because it shouldn't be dead. The only reason it's dead is because there was a huge fight that broke out mid because you died and your team committed as 4 to take it. Your team should not have to commit as 4 to take that tower. That's like the point I'm trying to make, right? It should just naturally happen once you get Blink. So, the next thing... So, my point is, what's your first tower once you get Blink?
Mid tower.
Okay. And once you take mid tower, where do you migrate to farm?
The map.
What? I can't hear you. I don't know if you need to talk louder or what, but...
I said the top half of the map.
Okay,
but
top half of the map. Okay. So, if you're stronger than them with Blink Dagger Deso, should they take your
tier
mid
2?
tower at any point? No. For whatever reason, every time you answer, it cuts off. I have no idea why. So, if they shouldn't take your tower, mid lane, what's the condition for you being able to pressure top?
The mid is pressured in.
Okay. So you're migrating your farm patterns to top and mid. Okay, that's that. Like the idea is once I have mid pushing it a little bit, as long as my mid lane's not taking any damage, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want in the top lane. Okay, and the amount of pressure you're applying is insane, right? Like meaning on TA, you clear the waves almost instantly. You'll kill their tower in like 20 seconds if they don't defend it, and so you can dictate the entire movement of the enemy team. And if they bring 4 heroes bottom, and you're doing this, what are you doing?
I'd probably, if they're like pressuring our tier 1.
Yeah.
I'd probably, if we're already at the tier 2 and we're pressuring it, I'd probably commit for the tier 2.
Okay. What's an even better objective for a TA with a Deso when all the 4 heroes on the enemy team show bottom?
Roshan.
Yeah, right? Shouldn't you know that I can go here? Okay, so here's my idea, right? You're stronger than them once you get Blink Dagger Deso. We've established this. You're not in a Baden that just shows up and sits there underneath the tower to defend it, right? That's not the strength that your hero applies, right? So if that's not the strength your hero applies, the strength your hero applies is flash farming immense amount of tower pressure as well as Roshan. That's what your hero does. So I said your condition for pressuring tier 2 top is that they can't take your mid lane, right? Like that it's not an acceptable trade when you're that much stronger than them to get their tier 2 top and give them your mid tier 1. That's what I'm trying to say, right? That's not an acceptable trade. So, as long as they're not taking mid, what's the only objective they can possibly take?
A bot tier 1.
Bot tier 1. And with them taking bot tier 1, what did I say you're going to do? Can't hear you.
Take Roshan.
Yes. So, do you see how these top, like, I'm not a TA player, but I guarantee you, in some semblance of that capacity, that is exactly what a very good TA player is thinking. And it can be applied on every single hero. Like, they're just not allowed to 4-man bottom. They're not allowed to take your mid tower, because they can't push it out through you. Like, they can't stop you from just pushing it out. They're not allowed to take your safe lane tower, because they just lose Roche. And they can't kill you. How do they win?
They don't. They just
They
fall far
don't.
behind.
They literally cannot win. Like, and that's why this patch, if you played it right, you get this like 2k advantage at 10 minutes, farm up your Blink Dagger, push in the mid lane, rotate to the top half of the map, continuously pressure the tower. Anytime they come, you just blink away. Anytime they go bottom, you take Roche. They can't do anything. And the rest of the time, your team's just running around the map killing people all they want. Like, that's all that's happening. And so, that's like one of those things where you can, as a hero like TA, solo carry the game, like, reliably. Because you just
I'll have
do
to
this.
let the dog go. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm back.
So, okay. So I know we've talked a lot in this mid game, but this is a thought that honestly messes up. This is like the most crucial part of the game, for your tier, or for in Dota in general right now. But in like this part of the game is why teams, once they're ahead in competitive, don't lose anymore, because in the patch
Also
right
die
now.
here as well, I think.
What? Oh god, you do.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I die here as well. I get like triple cast. But I definitely shouldn't have been committing for that tower.
So, do you see how this entire thing could be solved if you had an accurate game plan? None of this is mechanics.
Yeah.
It's just gameplay understanding.
I just took their tier 2 and I don't even have a Blink Dagger. Like, doesn't
Yeah.
even make any sense.
Yeah, like it's
Shouldn't
just,
have even happened, probably.
yeah.
Right?
The point is you shouldn't be like every game. It's like you should watch that Deadly video. If you're willing to spend $55 on a coaching session, you should spend $5 on Game Leap and watch my 2-hour-long video or some shit. If you're willing to take the time, I'm not trying to like milk you for more money. I'm just saying that percentage-wise, like I do go over a lot of examples of this particular thing. You have to think about like, and they're from pro games. You have to think like in terms of objectives, right? Like, what's my next objective? What makes me strong enough to take it? Period. That's like all it is. What's my next objective? What do I need to take it? Right? When it comes to that tier 2, on almost every hero, all that's required is being unkillable. If you want to take it solo, right? Because all it is like you're solely pressuring it, and even if you can't push through their heroes, all you're doing is waiting for their heroes to not be there, and then you kill it, right? but you're always around there. So if they leave, you take the tower, but if they don't leave, you just sit there farming, and you're fine with that because they're making them commit like 1 or 2 heroes to defend, and you're just farming, right? Like, and you're happy with that. But the point is, what you need to take that tower to be unkillable, and to be unkillable, as we mentioned in this game, is Blink Dagger, and so you just shouldn't be up here until you have a Blink Dagger. Like, that's just all it is.
Yeah, it should still be mid.
Yeah,
pushing
and that's
out the
this
wave.
whole
Well,
idea.
we even lost our mid tier 1. I don't remember how that happened.
No, it literally Prophet TP'd in and pushed it with a creep wave. And your whole team's fighting bottom, which is actually acceptable. Do you see, with all due respect, how the entire things that's gone wrong in the last 4 minutes has been your fault exclusively? You see that? I'm not trying to, like...
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree that I shouldn't have been making these moves until...
Okay. I'm saying to you and all these players watching that if you are the strongest hero on the team and you make these type of mistakes, you screw over your entire team. Like, I'm trying to say this not to validate what I said from yesterday. I'm trying to reiterate that about why I was so angry at my teammate for not listening to me. Like, I was trying to gently suggest where he should be on the map. I was literally like, dude, you need to take bottom farm, take the dangerous farm, etc. And he just kept going to where you're going. And I was like, where do I go? Like, if he's taking the safe farm and he's stronger than me, where the fuck do I go? And it's like, so at this point, this is a process that happens every single game, is this migration of objective to objective. And then once you start to understand this migration of objective to objective, you'll not only play better, but you'll also draft better, because you'll think, like, how the game plays out, and like what kind of hero will do that best in any given game. So like you see them bottom, and this is the proper response. But all of this didn't need dying to figure out. That's how I kind of look at it, right? Like, you didn't need to die a couple times when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, like, to do that. This is all, like, the objective order is correct. The timing that you did it based on your own items is incorrect.
I just rushed it too much, right?
Yes, basically. So, in almost every game where you're winning, when do you go bottom?
I mean, once don't you just not go bottom until you you just pressure racks top, right?
No, not necessarily. That's not exactly how it works. So
strong enough to just.
On a hero like TA especially, what should always happen before you go bottom?
Yeah, Ages.
Yeah, you should get Roche, like 100%. Like, there's no debate on okay, maybe there's like 1% of games that there's exceptions, but on heroes that take Roche, if you can apply pressure to their safe lane, you just never leave on Radiant, right? It's a little bit different if you're Dire. That's like a whole different story, because your dead lane is the lane that is near Roche. So what oftentimes you'll see on TAs that are unkillable on Dire is they'll actually play the top half of the map. Even though,
near to Roche.
Because if they're playing the top half of the map and they're stronger than the opponent, how many objectives is the opponent getting? 0, right? Where else do they take objectives? Oh man, maybe they take this tower, and if they did take this tower and you're single-handedly defending this, how many teammates of yours are viable to be here?
All of them.
All of them. And then you can TP, right? Like, so technically, theoretically, it could be all 5 of you. So if you're single-handedly defending towers as the strong, unkillable hero in that circumstance, and you're playing around your main objective, you're flash farming, all the rest of your team can do whatever they want over here, and at any point, you're threatening Rush. So the enemy team gets no objectives. So your team's applying pressure, you're flash farming, they're getting no objectives on the enemy team. And so on Dire, you'll often see teams, like players that have these Roche heroes, they're much more inclined to play top if they're unkillable. Yeah. So basically, I am going to go a little bit over, because I always do, just for the person that's up next, as well as you understanding that. So in this situation, Roche should be gotten, and we talked about that. And the idea is that depending on your strength in the game, these towers are pretty much never worth trading unless it's enabling you to go high ground or something. What I mean is it's not worth, if you're this much stronger, to
Yeah.
take these and give them these. So, if you're
Yeah.
a flawless TA player, what should you do before you go bottom?
Traps.
What? Traps of what?
Traps to cut the waves.
Yeah, top, right? So, before you go bottom, there should be literally 6 traps along this wave. And no one on there, like, maybe they'll backdoor your tier 1 with profit. There's, like,
Yeah.
nothing you can do about that. Like, you're just not going to stop it. But they're never applying pressure up here, right? Like, nobody on your team's forced to do anything for the next 3 minutes or so because you have 6 traps, right? And if you have 3 minutes, is that long enough with this Aegis to take all this shit?
That's plenty of time.
That's plenty of time. So then, once you take this shit, about what, like, maybe that's towards the end of the Aegis. So once you take this shit, what's your next movement on the map?
I mean, until I get BKB.
Okay. And what's your
Other
next
Aegis. The
objective?
next
After
Aegis
you
is
take
like
these
when
2
we-
things, what's your next objective? Sorry.
I mean, I would say farming until BKB and next stages. And then
Okay,
we
until
pressure
next
high ground.
Aegis, right? So once you take these 2 towers, eventually, by 8 minutes in, what area do you have to control again?
The top half of the map.
Top half of the map,
Roche.
right? That's all it is. And so, if you want to take Roche, and you want to control the top half of the map, and you take these 2 towers, should you immediately, after you lose Aegis, just run here? I can't hear you. Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Yes? What did you do before, though? What's the primary thing that's going to stop you from wanting to play here?
Bot lane getting pushed in.
Okay, so before you leave, what should be done?
Traps again.
Yeah, put like 6, 7, 8 traps in the bottom lane, and then you can just play top for 4 minutes and not give a shit about bottom. Like, every hero does this differently. I'm just giving you TA in a nutshell, right? Like, I'm trying to give you the best
Pretty unique
explanation
with
of
how she
TA.
can do it, though.
Yes, like every hero does these type of things differently, but to not you, like, if you understand the dead lane concept, if you know you never want to play bottom because you want to play around Roche until it's up, every hero to some extent has some way of relieving pressure on that lane. If I was you and I was a Jug against the opponent lineup, what could be my way of doing that to my best capability?
Mantis style.
Manta's true, but couldn't I take these towers and continuously cut these waves over and over because I'm unkillable against this team, right? If I was Jug, like, act like this carries something different. These T heroes can't kill me, right? And the minute they try to go on me, what do?
TP.
Yeah, but I spin the wave, right? I make sure I take a wave with me. So maybe I can't relieve 4 minutes of pressure like a TA can, but I can relieve 1 minute. And so,
Okay.
as a Jug, if I relieve 1 minute of pressure here, what am I relieving it for?
To run to Roche on or whatever.
To be able to go top, right? So the minute I relieve that pressure, I go right to Roche, right? If it's up, do I start threatening it? Like, I start doing it, right? And trying to
Yeah.
force them to come to me. If they come, I back off and go right back bottom. Like, I just walk right back bottom. Okay? I do the same thing again. And if they show up with 4 heroes, I TP back to Roche and do it again. Am I not dictating the entire movement of the opponent team? Right? Like, I'm dictating their movement. They're either going to lose their tier 3 or they're going to lose Roche. Like, they can't do shit. And so it's like, it's one of those things where, as a Jug in that case, the only thing you could possibly do wrong is, like, TP away from here and then come back to here and then not have a TP. Because then you're fucking up. That's, the entire purpose of you being here is forcing them to be here and stopping them from Roshing. So, like, if you don't have a TP, then you're doing it wrong. But my point is, every hero does this differently in every game. So the idea is there's ways to stop the opponents from taking objectives or force them to deal with you on every hero that's in this situation. Like, every hero that's strong enough to do it it's possible. And so on TA, like that like, your role was, if you play this hero perfectly, this does not happen. This shit And guess what?
Yeah.
Because that
Well,
shit's
the
happening,
top tower. You could have taken the top tower anyways.
this
but,
realistically
when you
dies, right? You
the wave-
can't stop a Nature's Prophet from taking this.
I
But
think we end up actually rotating, which is
if
bad.
if your allies see this shit, what are they gonna do? Can't hear you.
That's what they're doing right now.
They're doing it, right? They're gonna show up and try to stop it. If you had a trap that cut all these waves, what's your team doing right now?
Yeah. I mean,
Five-manning
probably
bottom,
doing the same thing.
killing this fucker. Five-manning bottom. Who cares about top if you don't have any creeps?
Talking about like conceptually or actually,
Conceptually,
because I think they're hunting for kills right now. They just want to kill this guy.
I mean, even then,
But
like what I'm
conceptually-
saying for yourself, like you could tell your team if you want, but theoretically, in an ideal situation, your team's not going to go here. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like maybe they will because they're bad, but like if you are cutting all these creeps and your teammates feed 2 deaths here, the only thing that's happening is your teammates feeding 2 deaths. If you don't cut these creeps and your teammates feed 2 deaths, you suddenly have to back off to defend this. Or you lose it. So you can't do whatever you want on the map anymore. You see the difference here? Both situations, your teammates are idiots. One situation, it dictates what you're doing. The other situation, it does not. Does that make sense?
No, totally.
Okay. So that's what I care about, right? I'm going to hope your team does the right thing, and if they don't, if you're doing the right thing, it just doesn't affect you. But they'll just feed 2 kills. But if you aren't doing the right thing, it's going to dictate your entire movement. So what's happening here? You're top 2? Oh my god. So you're seeing that this lane should not be here. Like, this lane should just be dead, and you should be here. That's what should be happening, right?
I should just.
Yeah. So these are engagements where I look at my teammates that are your MMR or equivalent, and I go, what the fuck are they doing? Our objective is right here! We're the team that has an Aegis. We're supposed to take an objective. Any fight that happens on this map should occur here. Like, should it not?
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, we are in control. We are ahead. We are stronger. If you are stronger, you dictate where fights occur. Like, that's what I look at. Like, you have the power to decide where fights occur. If you're weaker, then you need to think, where does the enemy team want to force fights? Can we take that fight? And if the answer is yes, you try to take it. If the answer is no, then you don't, right? Like, and you try to do whatever else you can on the map based on whatever hero you are. So, in order of objectives, you're doing it correctly. Why would I say these 2 towers in this specific game should be taken before this one?
I really have a good answer for that.
So when your Aegis is
That,
out,
that tower just felt awkward to take
Okay.
at the time. I don't
so
know.
sometimes an instinct can be a big deal. So that is true. It is awkward. So I'm going to clarify it for you to understand why it's awkward. So when you have those type of instincts, in general, try to trust them. Like try, in general, you'll be correct more often than not. But based on your MMR, like the higher you go, the more likely your instincts are correct. But to be able to apply it in multiple games, once the Aegis is out, what's your next objective?
Yeah, Aegis.
Aegis. So,
Yeah.
isn't it always beneficial to threaten multiple objectives at once? Always, right? Like, that's just always better. Can you threaten these 2 towers and Roche at the same time? No, right? Can you threaten this tower and Roche at the same time? Yes. Making it so that if you're taking objectives during your Aegis, these 2 towers, if possible, are better. In what cases, in a similar game, would you take this tower instead of these 2 towers?
Taken yet?
What?
If that's like the only tower left, or if we hadn't taken Roche yet and we were pressuring that tower.
Well, in this game, we said you're never going here if you... Okay. My point is, these towers are harder to take than this one. So going along
If we're
the same,
behind,
so going along the same concept of this tower, this tower, this tower, right? If you're behind, you're not strong enough to take this tower. It could be that simple. You're just not strong enough. Like, the way I try to look up objectives in the game is, what are my choices? How difficult is each one? What are the conditions I can have to take those? So, like, that's how I look at it. And I look
if
at
you're
these
behind on TA, that's already a big problem, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. You don't really win if you're behind on TA. So that's an acceptable kill. Why?
I mean, not for the jug.
I'm saying, like, if you kill that, like, you being here to kill that jug is acceptable. Why?
Because we're setting up top for the
Yes,
next
because you're
Rosh
setting
round.
up top for Roche, right?
Area.
Earlier, not acceptable. You should never be there. You see how you set up some traps bottom? These should be getting killed. These waves.
Yeah.
So right now,
I think I start doing it now.
I don't think Roche is up yet. Okay. So if you have an exact understanding of when Roche is going to come up, like based on timing or whatever, like you wrote it down, at what point you have to be at top basically by 8 minutes approximately, right? Like within reason. You have to be there as soon as possible. So what's the only thing stopping you from getting Roche? As we mentioned.
Them contesting us,
Try again.
or our lanes getting pushed in.
Bottom lane, right? The only thing that usually stops you from taking objectives on heroes like TA is them pressuring you elsewhere. Like, yeah, they could contest you in Roche, but if you have superior lane pressure, it's really fucking obvious if they're contesting you. Like, really obvious. Like, if they have 2 creep waves at their tier 3s, and none of them are defending, they're contesting you. And in which case, what do?
You just back out. And
You just
take
back
the
off
fight.
and wait till they show somebody at the tier 3. You know, they can't do shit. So, like, that's the point, right? Is if you have superior lane pressure, it's really obvious always what the enemy team's doing. So, if you TP top to kill that jug, it's super important because you want this top lane to be pressured in order to enable you to get Roche, right? But does this top lane need to be at tier 3 for you to Roche? I'd safely say it just needs to be past Roche. Like, it just needs to be here. Ideally, obviously, you'd like it at tier 3. But if the top lane's right here, that makes Roche really awkward, right? But
Oh, yeah,
if the top
definitely.
lane's like right here, can't you still acceptably Roche? Like, you can still do Roche if top lane's right here. Right? So, what that means is, I always establish this, like, where does top lane need to be? So I get top lane there, and wow, now where do I go? Right after I clear this top lane to get past here.
You go to Roche.
Roche ain't up yet. It's 7 minutes. So right here. Okay, you cleared it. It would have been right now. Based on what I have just said, what's limiting you from taking Roche?
Bottom. So I
Bottom.
need to be detonating those traps.
Okay. So, Roche is not alive yet. Do you need to be around Roche if it's not alive? No. So, whatever reason, I can't hear you. So, you kill this wave. What should be your next 30 seconds?
I mean, I could go bot and shove that wave out and then come back top for Roche.
Okay. You're missing one crucial detail. Right when you kill this wave, what should happen? What should your next immediate mechanic action should be? Lay a trap in this lane, and then leave. I can't hear you, so I don't know what's happening. But you kill this wave, lay a trap, run all the way fucking bottom. Like, it's actually what you'll see players doing it. Like, it is so necessary. This is why, like, high MMR is based on how fast you do things. Like, I'm giving you ideal scenarios and stuff that I'll do properly on my main, like, 10 heroes, right? These are things that I won't do this quickly if I was playing TA, because mechanically and, like, you know, autopilot-wise, I don't have the muscle memory to do this on TA. But flawlessly, lay a trap, run all the way bottom, push out the bottom wave. Top lane's going to be, because you'll have 45 seconds to do so, right? Because 15 seconds until this creep wave spawns, you're going to kill that next creep wave with a trap. So you have 45 seconds to push this lane before this lane even gets like before the next creep wave in this lane even spawns, right? So you have 45 seconds to do whatever you want in regards to like top lane's no longer an issue for 45 seconds. So you spend that 45 seconds relieving pressure here. What's the only point of relieving pressure ever?
You can take an objective.
You can take objectives that you want. That's the only point of relieving pressure. So every time I think of an objective, I first think, where would they pressure us that would stop us from taking it? Is that a concern? If you see this happening, is bottom lane a concern?
Push that up. Is Nature's Prophet's going to absolutely pressure the T2?
Yes. If this was like an Ember, is bottom lane exactly a concern? If Roche was up right now?
I mean, you don't want the creeps at it, but it's not like Ember's going to...
He's not going to, like, take your tier 3 or some shit, right? Like, he's not going to kill your building. So you could maybe afford to just kill Roche. But in this case, like, there's a lot of people in your MMR, like, people I'm trying to kind of dictate their movements in my games, like 500 Immortal or worse. They don't do the relief pressure part very well. They don't reset. They don't, like... Basically, if you group up to take an objective, what does that mean for your other 2 lanes? Against good players. If I group up to take top tier 2, what does that mean for my other 2 lanes?
The enemy's going to push them in.
Okay, so once we take that tower, what is almost always our immediate action?
Get your waves back.
Go solve those problems. Like, go fix those waves. Like, that's just has to be done. You can't, like, continue pushing tier 3 if they're pushing 2 of your towers. The only exception is if you have, like, a Lycan lineup at 14 minutes and you can just kill their racks. You know, that's, like, very, very few exceptions to that. But the point is, like, a lot of people don't do that. And I, for whatever reason, find myself having to convince them over and over again, like, you know, please, reset, push lanes, then go do something. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just do something when the lanes are at your tier 1s. Like, you just can't. Okay, so you would have ran straight bottom. Like, you'd make your way all the way bottom. You may even try to kill these guys mid. You just run straight here. You have no purpose top. What is your purpose here? Think about it. What are you doing that a single trap could not do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not pressuring the tier 3. So this movement should have been done 30 seconds ago. And then you would have been here in time. And then you would have cleared this instead of your Ricky. And this guy dies. Maybe he dies anyway.
Yeah, he does anyway.
Okay. I mean, he would have 100% died real fast. Why does this tower not matter for the fuck of it? Like, why do we not give a shit about this tier 2? Same idea as your Blink Dagger earlier.
It's not time yet because we're just going to take it once we have our Aegis.
Yeah, once you have Aegis, you're just going to get it.
It's just going to die.
It's going to die. Like, exactly. Once you get your Blink Dagger early on in the game, that tier 1 mid, that tier 2 top, they're just going to die. Like, it's going to happen. Like, for all the reasons we understand about Dota. So, that's just part of Dota. Like, you have to understand that. Like, if they just casually feed to you, sure, go take the tower. Like, there's no Roche up, just go take the tower. But, with you at the advantage you have, I know it's only 3k, but your map control is insane, right? Like, you're a TA. Yeah. Like, if you're ahead and you're a TA, I've played against it. It's miserable to play against. You just can't push lanes against, like, a good TA player. This should never be happening, right? Like, it just shouldn't be happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Definitely.
And so my point is, on any hero you play, any hero, this type of, like, what's allowed to be happening is different, right? It's different. It's different based on factors of their heroes, your hero, items, like who's doing well, who's doing poorly, you know? And so I really want you, I think the main thing I'm looking at this, I knew it from the start too. It's funny. I've after coaching enough, I've realized I can notice what's going to happen based on the lineups if somebody has trouble with a game. Is that you have to draw this very distinct line of this is what's allowed to happen in the game and this is what's not allowed to happen. So we're about 10 minutes over, and I'm gonna fast forward just to see like what happens. But I'm really interested in coaching this because you're high MMR, and I want to, like, this is actually a concept that I've been trying to emphasize for a while now, and using in the coaching session is really great. So the person that's waiting, I apologize. You know, we will be doing your session, but So I
I
just
think I can kind of summarize what happens next. I'm telling them to. I'm kind of like pinging out Roche and telling them to just chill and wait for it. And they take some sort of like random fight bot. I don't really remember what happens, but then Roche spawns. I take Roche, and we kind of fail the high ground push.
okay. So
So
let's
see.
watch the high ground push and talk about it, and then I want to show you something. Did you watch my bristleback game on my Smurf yesterday?
Did not.
Okay. Then I want to show you that briefly, and then we'll end the session there after we finish this game. Because I want you to understand this on one other hero, and I have like a perfect example for you. So I'm actually going to be making a video on it. I'm really this worked out perfectly. The problem you had in this game is, it's a farming pattern thing, and people have been asking me to make videos on farming patterns. So this, I might even
Also,
use,
here I dropped boots for to keep all these items. Is that?
that's fine. I
Do
agree
you think
with
an acceptable time to drop?
that. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So what's your condition for going high
I had a
ground?
sentry down. Lane, making sure that bot lane isn't getting destroyed by natures.
Okay. So what should be your movement after you take Aegis?
Bot. Or
What?
make sure like
Just
all
walk
the
through
lanes
bottom,
are-
right? Literally walk through bottom. Are
Yeah.
you killable?
No.
No. You just walk through bottom. You say they only lane they can pressure is bottom. They are not allowed to do that. You should that should just happen. You can watch my stream. I do this all the time where I dictate this. I say Necrophos. It happened yesterday in my Smurf game on Bloodseeker. I think it was. I had a Necro on my team, and we got Aegis, and I said Necro, go bottom and walk down that lane. Like they can't kill you.
Yeah.
Walk down the lane. The rest of the team farm until he gets there. Like that's all we gotta do. You know, like just farm this part of the map until this Necro walks all the way to here. You have 4 kill heroes, right? Can those 4 kill heroes represent threat and keep the mid lane pushed in without you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the following time after the Aegis should be your 4 heroes playing together mid and you walking through bottom. Like just that lane gets pushed all the way to their fucking tier 3 before you do anything. Okay. At least push to like right here. Okay? Like the longer you push it is based on how like threatening they can do other lanes and stuff and how much time you need to push. Like every creep wave you push buys you how long?
30 seconds.
Okay, and that's all you need. Like that's what you need to understand, right? Is how long do I need to do whatever I want to do, and that's something you'll innately start to understand for yourself. Like over time, if you think that way, you'll start clearing X amount of creep waves because you need this much time to do something, and that's how you can start thinking about it. But either way, like if bottom lane's pushed in while you try to go high ground, what happens to your high ground siege? How does that affect your high ground siege?
Awkward because like if your push is too slow or something, the nature's prophet just ends up he takes the tier 2 and he just walks up onto the high ground if you're
So
all there.
awkward is absolutely correct. The best word I would use is rushed. Doesn't it just become rushed? Like you have to do everything very quickly, otherwise you're losing buildings. If you're at a 5k advantage with an Aegis and a cheese, should you ever feel rushed?
No.
No, like never. Like you're not allowed to let the other team make you feel rushed. Like you just can't, right? So whatever's causing you to be rushed has to be taken care of first in every situation like this. Like, and this is proof that like even 6K players like 5.8 don't properly understand high ground. Like this is why a lot of throws happen in pubs. Like
Yeah,
from
it happens very soon.
yeah, and it'll happen more often than just this game. Like that's just how it is. So the point is.
Right here.
And
So
I mean, obviously, okay.
Yeah.
If your bottom lane is pushed in, if your bottom lane is like right here, and this same occurrence happens, and this tiny just blinks in and does that shit, what do you do?
Just leave.
You're like, what
Left
the fuck?
anyways,
And you
just
back off.
Left him. Yeah.
Right? You literally go, what? And then you back away. But like,
That was my reaction.
if your bottom lane's pushed in, no matter how good of a player you are, you will feel pressured to make something happen here. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, the difference between what happens with this bottom lane pressure is if nothing happens here, is that good or bad for you?
Very bad.
If the bottom
wait,
lane, if they're pressuring your
good
bottom
or if
lane
it's
and
bad.
nothing happens, sorry, if
Yeah,
they're pressure, it's bad, right? If the bottom lane is here and nothing happens, is that good or bad for you?
fine. It doesn't matter.
It's fine, doesn't matter, right? Only thing that can happen is good things, as long as you don't dive into their base and feed. So if you're tiny, does this Rambo shit for no reason and feeds, but the bottom lane's pushed out to their tier 3, do you care? You're just kind of like, okay guys, let's take a mental rewind and try that again when Tiny's alive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck was that, Tiny? Let's do that again. Try not to dive their base. You know what I mean? Like, and if he does it again, okay. You know, sometimes that's just life. But like that's the kind of thing where, you know, maybe you get away, which is really nice. Try to get in the habit of switching items in your inventory after you lose ages.
Yeah. After that, we just fucking lose our minds.
What's your objective here?
Being tilted at this point.
Being
like,
tilted. Yeah. I mean, I tilt too. Like, I make bad plays. So, it's not like I'm above this. All I'm saying is, you know, it's all objective, right? Like, at this point, the game's over. You actually lost. Like, almost 100%. So, I'm going to end the game there, and I'm going to pull up my replay real quick of Bristleback. And I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions. This will take 5-10 minutes, and then we'll move on and call it a day. I hope that was relatively eye-opening. I hope I didn't bring up any like super what feels like obvious things to you.
Cool.
So, let's see here.
Because I didn't feel like my mid-game movements were like definitely not optimal, but I didn't think they were game losing like the way.
And I hope you know I'm not trying to like just break you down. You realize like why I'm emphasizing that, right? Like you realize how much it affected the entire game. Those like basic
I
movements.
definitely saw.
Okay, and that's why like yesterday I was talking about it on stream. I was literally like, I learned this lesson the hard way when I was on VGJ. There were like a few games that I straight up cost my team the game doing similar things to what you just did in that game. And that's a lesson I learned about 6 months ago. And it's like, if you do this improperly as the strongest hero in the game, you actually just fuck your entire team. Okay, so I last picked this Bristle. The only hero I didn't see was Luna. Okay? Looking at my lineup and looking at theirs, based on what I talked about with farm distribution and roles in the game, why did I pick Bristle?
You're just gonna run in and make them kind of defend towers too. You can sit there while the TA does her thing.
Okay, because what does TA want to do for the first 15 minutes?
Wants to rice.
She just wants to stay mid, rotate, right? But she just pushes out this, rotates between jungle, exactly what you just said. So, what's Axe want to do past like 10 minutes?
He wants to blink call people.
Yeah, he wants to play off map, and what's required for him to play off map and look for kills?
His blink dagger.
Sorry, after he has Blink Dagger, what from his own team is required for him to do that?
True.
Lane pressure, right? Like, that's all. That's what matters. You have to be able... If there's no lane shoved in, who cares if he has a blink? Nothing's happening, right? So I looked at our team and I said, doesn't show lanes. Doesn't pressure early. Doesn't show lanes. Doesn't pressure towers early. Pick a hero that does that. Look at their lineup and say, okay, pick a hero that does that. My entire purpose in this game was, I'm going to pick a hero that walks down lanes. Like, that's all I'm going to do. Like, I don't need anything else. We have disable, we have catch, we have farming, we have carry. Like, we don't need anything else. We have teamfight for the silencer. We didn't have any teamfight building items, like any hero that builds team items, right? None of these heroes build team items. Maybe Bounty Hunter, kind of, but he's a support, so you can't really rely on that.
Yeah.
So nobody builds team items. Nobody walks down lanes. Nobody applies pressure early. Okay? So this is a game where I just pick Bristle, and we'll just fast forward. And you'll just watch what I do. Like, I actually died 3 times in the lane. I literally said, like, I die and I don't even care. Like, it was hilarious because I was dying and I was winning the lane. I died, like, 3 times, and if you look at the net worths, I'm probably winning. Like, look at where I am, right? I end up forcing the Rubik to TP top.
Yeah.
And I've died twice, but look at my net worth compared to Beastmaster. I've died twice. I'm just like, okay, who gives a shit? I died. Like, they're dealing with me with 4 heroes. Continue doing what I'm doing. Walk at this fucker. Like, get him out of lane. Like, this is an idea where this is the different approach. But I recognize that I had a TA in my game, right? So I knew what your hero, like, if you were the TA, I knew what you were wanting to do. So I picked the hero that does the appropriate thing, like, to pair with that. I'm not going to pick some passive farming hero in the safe lane when I have a TA, because that's what TA wants to do. So look at the way I play. So if I'm this hero that's job is to walk down lanes, am I the tower pressure hero in this game? Like, do I try to rotate bottom and take their tower? Is that something you think I'll do next?
Uh, I mean, now that
I mean, the net worths are astoundingly bad for them. But, like, look at the... Is it good for me to rotate bottom in this game? Why or why not?
I mean, at this point in this game, you already took their tier 1 top, so like, there's not really an objective here anymore.
Okay. If
Go bot.
we just farm for the next 5 minutes, are we happy with that?
Probably not, because they have a Luna and a Shadow Fiend.
But if we're farming 3 lanes...
TA does hit her power spike, so I'm not sure.
TA hasn't hit her power spike yet, has she? As Axe?
She does. She farms until she hits it, and then she can pressure the Luna and the
Yes.
Shadow Fiend.
So until Axe blink and TA blink Deso, are we happy farming all 3 lanes and doing nothing on the map objectively? Like grouping up to take an objective. Are we fine with that? Yes, right? So you look at a lineup and you say they have Luna Beastmaster. What does that lineup tell you?
I mean, they want to get to the late game, or at least the mid game.
They want towers. They want map control. They want to farm. Heroes like Luna flash farm, but if they can't farm anywhere, there's nothing to farm. So, what's the most important tower to take out of all 3 towers to give you farm? As a Luna, any carry in the game that flash farms.
Enemy safe lane tower.
Enemy safe lane tower. So, based on everything I just told you, should I ever leave this lane?
No, because you want to make sure that your tower doesn't die.
If I stay here, are they ever taking that tier 1? How do they take it? Even if they kill me at their own tier 2, I'm level 7, and I'll respawn by the time they get here. Right? Like, different version of applying strength. But is it not the same thing? It's a different version, but it's the same thing. I never leave.
Yeah.
And by doing this, is the enemy ever threatening an objective? Is the enemy ever going to threaten an objective? No, right? So if the enemy's not threatening an objective, what does that mean for my team?
Because they can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever the fuck they want. My TA can farm, my Axe can farm, my Bounty Hunter can look for kills. Like, they can do whatever they want. And like, if my team doesn't have to worry about getting roared by Beastmaster, what is there to be afraid of? I know we're up by a ton of gold, and this is like a complete stomp. But even if this is a stomp, it would be incredibly incorrect for me to leave this lane. Like, it would be incredibly incorrect. Because look at what's happening to their map control because I stayed there. Where do they go? Like, actually, if they can't go top, if you're behind, even if you're ahead, where's the most dangerous place on the map past the 10-minute mark?
Your deadline.
And what's the deadline? Almost every game. Can't hear you. Your own safe lane. Whatever reason you cut out whenever I ask questions. I hear you fine most of the time, and I can't hear you. So, if the most dangerous farm for them is their own safe lane, and I am physically able to prevent them from ever walking up this lane, where the fuck do they go?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Like, they just can't go anywhere. Like, and so it's one of those things where, by the way, I learned this from VP, because I thought once I learned the dead lane concept like 5 months ago, that every time I was strong, walk into their dead lane. That's kind of what I thought. And what happened was, to give you an idea, was I watched a game of VP. I'd have to like search for it. But there was a game, you know what? Fuck it, dude. We're going to end this real quick. Oh man, okay. I know what hero Ramses was playing. It was a Morphling versus Razor. I think it was against LGD. It was against a Chinese team. I mean, I'm looking at all games just in case. I'm gonna find it, dude. We're gonna prove this point by virtue of showing you players that are far better than me doing this. Let's see. It was either the Super Major or MDL. Anybody? Yeah, fuck. It was Morphling versus Razor. Ramses was playing Morphling. Where are all the other tournaments? What? Like, you're telling me these are the only tournaments we saw?
2015.
I mean, I'm already over time, guys. I'm not wasting his time. Let's see here. I'm gonna check this one more time. Morphling versus. Dota Ramses Morphling. Thank you. I'm almost certain it was against Chinese team. I'm gonna check this game. The Razor. I'm gonna find it. I guess I'll just check all the Morphling. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So this is one of those spots where, for all the viewers out there, for yourself included, what better than to say, BSJ, do you really know what you're talking about? Let's just watch fucking Virtus Pro. Real quick. So, you can't see the heroes, but they're against, he's a Morphling with a Chen DP Pangolier. What did Chen DP Pangolier do on his team? Like what?
Pressure towers.
Pressure towers. Pressure lanes, right? What do they not do?
Big safe farm.
Defend towers. Do they not? They don't defend towers? In this game, when they pick this Slardar Legion type lineup, do they have reach until Legion blink? Does this lineup have reach? Can't hear you. This lineup does. I'm just going to talk because for whatever reason I can't hear you. This lineup doesn't have reach. So until Legion blink, they never fucking kill this guy. Razor, where does he want to farm? Past the laning stage. He never wants to be in his own safe lane. He's not a hero that does that. Razors always want to go to the aggressive part of the map, and they always want to farm this area, especially as Dire, because they can plasma field all 3 creep camps, and it's just very convenient for pretty much any range carry in the game. So knowing that, if he has heroes that pressure this tower and pressure this tower, his role in the game is to never leave this area, right? If you really think about it. His goal is to, if his team is pressuring this lane and this lane without him, and he can single-handedly, survivably push this lane until Legion blink, until Legion gets a blink, he will never leave this side of the map. Like, this is the game I learned this lesson. I'm glad I found it. So, basically, if you knew that going into the game, I could tell you right now, even though I've already seen it, like, with this knowledge from this game, if I were to watch a future game with Ramses, that he will never leave this lane. Okay, he died. Did they get anything off of it other than kills? No. Right back. It's the same idea from the carry roll as what I did on the Bristleback. Like, Bristleback's more of an offlaner, but this is the same idea. If you look at your team and you say, we have all the tower pressure we can have, and my only job that could possibly be in this game is to prevent the enemy team from taking towers. Look at what the enemy team had to invest to get this tier 1. Look what happened on the map in all that time. Even if he died twice. Look what happened on the map all that time. They had to invest 5 heroes, Warlock Ultimate. Everything went perfectly for them, and they got this tower. That's what it took. And in the meantime, they lost 2 towers. And it's not like their late game is particularly better than VP's. And so, does he leave?
No, it just goes back.
Oh. Same idea. Where does Razor want to play?
Right here.
Right here, right? Like, this is where he wants to play. So if Razor can't play here, where does he go? Top? What? Like, okay, if Razor goes top, where does the rest of the VG go? Like,
Yeah,
how...
nowhere,
They can't do it. Like, without Golem, without Slardar Blink, without Razor, can they do anything? The answer is no. So, if Razor can't be here, what, like, even though he died, he's like, we forced out these ultimates, who cares? Look at their ward vision. And this is why VP is so good. They all understand this, not just one player. Every single player on their team understands what I'm talking about. Like, at a way higher level than I understand it. I'm only giving you my version of what I've comprehended from watching these games. Okay? Like, that's all I can give you, right? I can give you my summary of what I see in these games. So, like, he just never leaves. And once he gets Lincolns, how do they kill him the second time? Like, how do they kill him now once he gets Lincolns? I mean, I don't know. How do you ever kill this guy? The only time he goes top is to take an objective. Defend your own objective because you have Aegis. Where do you think he's going to go next after he takes his tower? Maybe he takes a fight. We don't really care about this fight. Well, I mean, like, once this fight happens, like, the fight's going to happen because the enemy team's defending. Somebody on their team is going to go bottom. And they're going to push it out while he pushes out mid. And they go bottom. Like, it's the same idea. Like, it can be either, what can happen is, this bottom push can either be one hero that's unkillable, or 4 heroes where the one hero that's unkillable pushes other shit. Does that make sense? Like, it can be both. But the point is, if you're that unkillable hero in a pub, you're not going to have teammates. It's going to be you. It's going to be you, because your teammates aren't going to group as 4 and push this lane. Like, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, so I always say in pubs it's better to be that one hero that pushes this and the 4 heroes that push mids, because you can't convince your teammates to do that. But now, you know, they're just going to migrate back to top. Basically, if you want to understand the concepts I showed you today, if you wanted, I highly do recommend watching the deadline video, but aside from that, watch VP. That's who I learned it from. Like, everything I taught you today is from VP. So all these concepts, like, you can listen to them in the coaching session, review them, and then watch VP do them, because they're the best at doing this specific thing. And it's very important. Obviously, there's hundreds of important aspects in Dota. But this one in particular right now is top 3, in my opinion, for the most important things. And VP does it the best. So I know I went over time, and a little bit of that was, not exactly what you signed up for, but hope you enjoyed the session, man. Any questions before we call it?
Nope.
Right on, dude. Thanks for signing up, and I'll see you around. Good luck.
Thank you.
Peace. So I simply apologize to the guy that I made wait for his coaching session. I hope you maybe were able to get a bonus coaching session by watching that